risk is just about everywhere.
On today's program, this GBAC TV Industry Alert, I am pleased to welcome Dr. Gavin McGregor-Skinner, the Senior Director of GBAC, the Division of ISSA. Gavin, you look healthy. How are you today?
Oh, Jeff, couldn't be better. It's spring and we're doing great.
Yes. Now, Gavin, I wonder if you're so healthy because you know how to use cleaning products appropriately.
Well, Jeff, what if I told you that I knew that 90% of the cleaning workers that we trained through our Cleaning for Health workshops last year could not recall one cleaning ingredient that was in the cleaning product they used?
I would say that's not too surprising, but here's the thing, Gavin. I think our cleaning professionals, they do their work, they know what they're doing. They might not think about those products, they trust the manufacturer, or they know the products work and they want simple. Tell us, I know you have an article coming up in a publication ISSA produces about this topic. Why is this important?
Because I think, Jeff, in the industry, the cleaning industry, when we learn something, when we have real data, real information, we just can't ignore it. We've got to act on it. And, Doug Hoffman, Dave Mora, Jim Manus, and myself, we ran 54 in-person Cleaning for Health workshops in 2023. We trained 893 essential cleaning professionals, and 90% or 804 workers could tell us the cleaning product they use. That's where that's really important. But they could not tell us, Jeff, the ingredients, the chemicals in those products. And that's a real big health and safety issue, but also an efficacy issue. What products and due to their ingredients work on what surfaces.
I agree with that. I'm looking at your article now that people will be soon reading. You talk about surfactants, solvents, builders, enzymes, biological additives. Sounds like a science class to me. So tell us what the cleaner should know about the products they're using and where to get that information.
That's a great question, Jeff, because, the use of cleaning products, not just by the industry, the cleaning professionals, but by everyone, it's ubiquitous. It's everywhere. Cleaning products work because they contain certain chemical ingredients. And the challenge we have is that we need to formalize our training, our programs, our education programs to at least ensure, and this is where we really want cleaning professionals to really understand why that we're calling them professionals, is because they know how the products work, they know what the ingredients do, and it's not just by looking at the label, the safety data sheet, it's by understanding that little, you're right, it's a little bit of chemistry, Jeff, but understanding how a solvent works, a surfactant, a builder, an enzyme, a chelate, or a preservative, why are they in the products that we use, why they're important, and how to use them safely and, again, clean for health.
So thinking about that, what actions do you want our viewers to take moving forward? What should they do? Wrap it up for us.
Well, really important, Jeff. We went through in our Cleaning for Health workshops, the 54 that we ran. We talked to people about the labels. We talked about the safety data sheets. We said, if I said to you, Jeff, this chemical is considered hazardous, what do you do? This product causes burns to eyes, skin, and mucous membranes. This product has to be used and you need to ensure adequate ventilation. Or you need to use personal protective equipment, and it always says as required. Or maybe, for example, it's very toxic to aquatic life with long-lasting effects. All that needs to be understood. What are the actions we take when we know a little bit more knowledge than what we've got now on the cleaning ingredients we have in cleaning products? And then more importantly, Jeff, that critical next step, how to make informed choices. And that's where the ISSA has partnered with Penn State College of Medicine, with Dr. Rebecca Bascom, with the City of New York School of Medicine, Dr. Omrana Pashat-Razak, on a 2-year project on making safer choices, where we're going to develop a practical toolkit to ensure that we can increase the knowledge, the demand, and use of cleaning products, and so that people understand how the ingredients work, how to use them safely, how to use them effectively, but also how to talk about the ingredients we use in cleaning products as professionals.
August 2005. It'll be a memory etched into the minds of those of us who lived through and survived Hurricane Katrina and Rita. As devastating as the 150 miles per hour winds were, no one could imagine the inconceivable costs in terms of loss of human life and property that the failure of the levees caused when it flooded nearly 1/3 of the city of New Orleans. With over 275,000 homes lost on the Gulf Coast as a result of the hurricane, 10 times as many as any other natural disaster in U.S. history, the city of New Orleans continues to deal with the results of homes flooded to the rooftop, unparalleled mold infestation, and potential health issues for the residents who remained to salvage what they could. Information and misinformation has been mixed together, and vulnerable property owners have been faced with the daunting task of trying to sort out the truth. And so the lessons are clear. Prepare when you can for whatever flooding might occur, not only for the potential, but for the aftermath. And whether a natural disaster or the result of someone's mistake, anyone and everyone can suffer the devastating effects of flooding. My name's Doug Hoffman, and I'm the Executive Director of NORMI, the National Organization of Remediators and Mold Inspectors. The information you're about to hear is designed to provide steps, guidance, and assistance for reacting to flood conditions in your structure. In most situations, a common reaction to a water flood event is to simply react and plan afterwards. Tunnel vision or over-focusing on the emergency can, at times, distract or omit safety concerns, and poor planning can leave you to fend for yourself after the storm is over. Caution and common sense should always be employed before any action takes place, and I hope this presentation will help you focus on the real issues both before the potential flood and consider the solutions available to you in the aftermath. Without a plan, the results of a water flood event will be worse than you've imagined, so there are several things I'm going to ask you to consider during these first few minutes we have together. The integrity of the structural systems may have been compromised depending on the nature and degree of the event. In all cases, if you are unsure of how to proceed or to create a safe environment to work in, contact a professional to assist you. A major concern in flooding situations are the utility services. Wet or submerged electrical devices, outlets, and wires can energize the area you're working in. The risk of electrical shock, burns, or even death must be eliminated before proceeding. This may require the power company to deactivate your service. And of course, natural gas and propane sources should also be protected, secured, or deactivated. This would include pilot lights, heat sources, and gas storage tanks. Depending on the severity of the water event, structural integrity should be considered in regards to the foundations. Foundation support could be weakened or damaged, allowing structural collapse. And with the utility and structural concerns addressed, the next major concern is the source of the water. Common sources of a water loss are as follows: a broken or leaking pipe from a drinkable water source, sewage or septic lines, groundwater, or a combination of those sources. And of course, you have to be concerned about the sewage and septic lines when you consider some of not only the sources, but the problems that could result after a flood. A general rule of thumb would be to consider any water that you would not drink as being contaminated. This would include water coming in contact with chemicals, human and animal waste, debris, and other unknowns. Protecting yourself is one of the important first steps post some water event. Exposing your skin, your eyes, your lungs, your nose, even your throat to contaminated water can create a wide range of health issues that may not appear for days after the exposure. I want to talk about personal protection equipment because that should be used while you're in the contaminated environment. Personal protection equipment can include a wide range of items, including boots, clothing, gloves, goggles, and even a mask. We recommend, under normal conditions, a N95 or dust mask that you can find pretty much anywhere. In some situations, the contamination levels are so high that you might even require a respirator. But each situation would require different types or combination of these types of protection. With safety and health concerns addressed, corrective action can then be taken. One of the most important things to consider with respect to corrective action is time. Time is your enemy. Once materials get wet or contaminated, damage and additional contamination growth is exponential. A clean water loss, if not corrected, can promote mold growth in as little as 24 to 48 hours. And contaminations due to sewage or unknown water sources will simply exacerbate the problem. Drying materials and surfaces in the least amount of time should be of the utmost urgency, and oftentimes power is not available, and so having a generator available will be a great source of power for some of the tools that you'll need to dry out the areas that have been flooded. Unfortunately, this may require removal and discarding of flooring materials, wallboard, and furniture. Many material and items can be salvaged depending on the contamination source, the time of exposure, the cost, treatment available, and resources. But a flood affecting a widespread area could reduce the available resources for that area. Not only do you not have electrical service, but you may not have access to floor fans or heaters or dehumidifiers or even an ozone machine that might help eliminate some of the potential contamination that you'll be dealing with after a flood. The following suggestions may not be appropriate in all situations. However, in all situations, safety must be the primary concern. Prior to or during a developing flood condition, remove any movable items, at least as many as you can, to higher ground and secure those locations if possible. Of course, the order in which those items should be removed is a personal decision, but things to consider are the cost of that item, the sentimental value, proximity to the flood, maybe the ability for it to be moved and the practicality of it. Removing items such as furniture and floor coverings prior to getting saturated will make the cleanup process, of course, much easier. Structural and decorative materials such as wallboard and carpeting are a major problem once they get wet. Most of these materials absorb moisture and can expand the damage beyond the water level. Wallboard and other materials such as pressboard or OSB-oriented strand board allow water to travel in an upward direction well above the water line. An example would be wallboard in as little as 1 inch of water can wick or draw moisture upward several feet. This also creates a problem inside the wall cavity which cannot be reached or cleaned. The rule of thumb is to remove the wallboard a foot to a foot and a half above the highest identified wet area of the wall. This will allow access for drying and cleaning building materials in the wall cavities. Up to this point, we've described different conditions, causes, and precautions. In the next section, we want to describe pre-planning and corrective measures. The preparation checklist. As mentioned earlier, safety is the most important issue to consider. You know, taking the important stuff with you is, of course, a great way to prepare for what may be coming. But what can you do to plan for the aftermath of the flooding? That must be considered too. Electrical and gas services must be secured before entering a flooded area. You know, as a side note, an improperly connected generator at a neighbor's home could energize service at your home even if the utility company has cut power in the area. This type of situation could cause an unknown and unexpected risk. With the utilities secured, standing and running water should also be avoided. The health effects from unknown contaminants against your skin is a concern in addition to the power of moving water. Did you know that just 6 inches of rushing water is capable of moving a parked vehicle? Losing your footing or being struck by debris, these are risks you need to consider. Assuming that the water is receding or the water source leak has been stopped, the next phase of the process can be started. Drying is one of the most important things you can do to reduce your loss. Contacting a remediation or drying company should be your first option. Pre-planning and contacting a restoration company before an imminent flood may place you on a response list if a wide area has been affected. Other options could include contacting the local fire department to have your basement or lower levels pumped out, renting pump equipment and generators prior to the flood while they're still available, and arranging for alternate lodging in the event your building becomes uninhabitable. Remember, the larger the area that's affected by the flood, the less resources will be available to you or your contractor. Here are a few internet resources for finding qualified contractors and some definitions we think you should know to protect yourself. NormiePro.com is a great resource for you to find certified mold assessors, inspectors, remediators, and other indoor air quality specialists, and you can find those certified contractors by your zip code. ServiceMagic.com is another great resource for construction contractors throughout the United States, and you can find them by the type of work they do and by your zip code. And then, of course, EnvironmentalExpert.com. To avoid being taken advantage of by a contractor during a flood emergency, understanding the following construction terms will be helpful. Licensed. In many parts of the country, having a license to do certain types of work is not necessarily a measure of that contractor's competency. Sometimes it simply means that they have government approval to work for a fee. Certified. Certification is often offered by certifying agencies, a specific organization that recognizes the skills, training, and the ability of the contractor who is certified. Being certified does not necessarily imply that the person certified is actually licensed to do the work. Insured. A contractor stating that they are insured is a pretty general term and could simply mean that they have auto insurance. Special types of insurance are required for specific types of work. For example, general liability insurance is not appropriate as coverage for mold remediation work. Qualified. A qualified contractor has been trained to perform certain types of work. However, they may not have the required insurances or licenses, or may not even be certified to do that work. The bottom line is that you need to understand the type of work that needs to be done, the capabilities of the contractor that you intend to hire, and then for your protection, have a written quote and description of the work to be performed. Make sure that the contractor that does the work is licensed by the municipality in which he's working, that he has the proper type of insurance, and request a certificate of insurance evidencing that specific type of insurance for the work he intends to do. And make sure that he's trained, either qualified or certified, to do the work for which you're hiring him. Keep in mind, using a contractor that's not appropriate for the work being performed may preclude you from any insurance claim, and you may give up your legal protection. If you cannot obtain a contractor, your only option may be to do the work yourself. With the decision to do the work on your own, we must stress that safety must be the main focus of your efforts to clean up after a flood. So let's talk about doing it yourself. While working in a safe environment, using the proper protective tools and equipment, water removal becomes the main priority. Pumps for pooling water and wet-dry vacs provide a good start to remove the majority of water. Rugs and carpeting and padding, if saturated or contaminated by an unknown water source, should be removed to allow drying of the subflooring. Sheetrock or wallboard materials and insulation that have been submerged should be removed 12 to 18 inches above the highest wet area. As a hint, removing 4 feet of wallboard is easier to replace with a 4 foot by 8 foot sheet of material. It's easier to do that than to try to cut and fit in smaller pieces. Once the bulk of wet materials have been removed, air movement and turning on your air conditioner if the power is available should be provided. And this would include running the HVAC, heat or forced air systems, using dehumidifiers and fans to increase air movement, and applying sanitizers like ozone machines to help prevent mold and bacteria growth. Sanitizers are extremely important when dealing with sewage and water from unknown sources. Heat drying systems can also be used by trained professionals to dry the environment. However, improper use could result in fire or permanent damage to materials by drying them too quickly. Remember that the drying process may take several days to more than a week, depending on the extent of the exposure. Secondary or collateral damage may start to occur in that time. Mold and other microbial growth may start to appear on surfaces exposed to moisture or elevated humidity levels. And if you have a situation where you start to have large areas of microbial growth, the drying process in most cases was not done adequately or fast enough. There is available at enviroscreening.com, for instance, do-it-yourself testing kits to find out if the mold that's been growing in your environment is the type of mold that might need to be removed or dealt with differently than common molds. In this case, it's recommended that you seek the assistance of a professional mold inspector, a qualified sampling technician, or a remediator. Health concerns become additionally critical as the environment conditions deteriorate. In regards to mold licensing laws, there are currently only 4 states that have mold licensing laws in place. Texas and Louisiana, of course, have their mold licensing laws in place. Florida has their licensing law in place, but it doesn't go into effect until 2010. And then just this year, the state of Maryland put in place their mold licensing law. The important thing is that you check the qualification of the indoor air quality specialist or the mold inspector or the mold remediator or assessor in your state to make sure that they are licensed, certified, and insured before they begin any work. Let's talk about some common misconceptions and myths pertaining to flood and mold and indoor air quality. Oh, bleach kills mold. How many times have you heard that? Well, bleach is an effective sanitizer, but in many cases it will not sanitize or remove mold at its root. It will bleach out the color, of course, so that it goes clear, giving the appearance that the problem's been removed, but it cannot, in many cases, get down into the microflora and destroy the mold at its root. Oh, just get rid of the water. Everything will be fine. Well, that's not always enough to protect your property. Most of the affected materials do have the ability to retain moisture, and elevated moisture levels are the main cause of much of the residual damage from flooding. Well, lots of air fresheners, that'll help. Well, that's not true. In actuality, most air fresheners only attempt to mask the odors. The odors are an indication that moisture, contamination, or growth still exist. And the chemicals in those fresheners can also be a source of indoor air quality contamination. Well, your insurance company is going to take care of the problem. Don't worry about it. Well, of course, insurance companies are not always quick to respond because of the heavy workloads, the emergency claims that bog things down and delay payments. Many homeowner insurance policies have exclusions that limit or exempt the insurance company from paying a claim. An example would be a claim to an insurance company for water damage from, say, groundwater intrusion. In most cases, the claim could not be covered unless you had flood insurance and the area that you're in was declared a disaster area by some government agency. A similar situation may occur with mold damage, and the water damage in the home may be covered by the insurance company, but the mold damage as the result of the water would not be covered. Here are several resources that may provide you with some additional assistance. Of course, the FEMA and the EPA government websites are good resources for more information about how to contact those agencies in an emergency. And also at the normie.org website, we've located a lot of resources for you, articles in regards to antimicrobials, information about mold screening kits, and other things that we feel will be helpful to you. We highly recommend that you seek professional assistance when dealing with a flood, mold, or indoor air quality issue. And please remember that the information that we have been providing to you is really for your information and not intended to replace professional training and assistance. I want to personally thank you for taking the time to listen to this overview. I am hoping that you will benefit from the resources we've made available to you, but also from the training that we offer industry professionals to help you through the process of getting things back to normal. It's my hope that you will never be faced with the issues we've discussed, but if you are, you will now be better prepared. Thank you.
Good afternoon, or morning, I guess. Good morning. Yeah, so I'm sure that Mo told you when we created Normie in 2004, one of the interesting things was what we created it primarily for the Louisiana licensing law. And the Louisiana licensing law was the first law to go into effect for mold remediators in the country. So it was the first licensing law, and then what happened in 2005? Katrina. And so we were right there able to help, I think, a lot of people with some of the issues that were of a concern to us. I'm not sure if he talked about the difference between the IICRC and us, but they come from the business more from we're not competitors, by the way. As you know, if you're an IICRC person, you get continuing education credits off of this class. So we work together. We just look at the industry differently. They come from the water restoration side of the business. We come from the building side of the business. And one of the reasons why we do that is not just my background with my licensing, but the main reason we do that is because we try to look at the house and the problem that they're experiencing in terms of a mold issue as a holistic kind of problem, not just fix this problem and everything is great, but think in terms of how we can actually improve their indoor air quality. So when I was moved to New Orleans in 2002, I was actually doing some of the things that you guys are doing now and some of the things that we would recommend that you do in terms of ongoing IAQ management, which is what we call our sanitization protocol. How you create an environment in which mold won't grow. And that was really based on my book, Mold-Free Construction, which you have access to if you have the Normie app. We do have an audio version there, so you can just listen to it. Might put you to sleep, but you can listen to it if you like, because it's on iTunes and on Audible as an audio book. But the sanitization protocol really does improve people's indoor environments, so you have the ability to do that. And I just want to tell you about somebody that I met when I was in New Orleans. I was doing some trade shows, and and a radio program, and I got a call from a lady. Her name was Laura DeRocher, and she had 4 children. And her youngest child, who was 8, had some very severe sinus issues. In fact, as she was talking to me, she had, of all 4 of her children, the other 3 had constantly been to the allergist every month. Now think about that for a second. Every month, for years, they had been to this allergy doctor. And she had found some mold up in the kitchen area over one of the cabinets, and she was concerned about how that might be affecting their kids, because she heard me on the radio and she knew that mold was an indoor air quality problem. She'd never really thought about that before. It's mold, how could it affect my children's health? But she was putting 2 and 2 together. She was saying, maybe there is a problem here with this mold that I'm seeing. So I went out there and I did the assessment. It took the sanitization protocol. It was not the amount of mold or the type of mold, or there wasn't a moisture problem that actually was causing the mold. It was actually a HVAC problem with the relative humidity. So we did the sanitization protocol, put it in place just like you see it today, exactly the same protocol. And she was really excited because in about a week she was feeling better. Her kids seemed to be feeling better. She wasn't sure. But the interesting thing that she told me when I was there visiting her was that her little child, the one that was just a few months old, they had scheduled that baby for surgery, sinus surgery. And she said, we've decided to kind of put it off because things seem to be going better. We'll see how this goes. Well, interesting story to kind of shorten everything up. About a year and a half later, maybe 2 years later, I got a call from her and she said, I got to tell you an interesting story. She said, first of all, I got a phone call from my pediatric physician, the allergist. He was concerned that we had switched doctors because I haven't taken my kids to the allergist in almost a year. We decided not to do surgery for the baby, and the baby is doing great. Now, a couple of years old, doesn't seem to have any allergies to the environment and what's going on. She said, I think you really solved a bigger problem than you maybe think you solved. The reason I'm telling you that story is because we hear that story over and over and over and over again. Maybe not quite as dramatic, but we hear that story over and over and over again. You are in a very, very important industry. You may not realize it, but one of the reasons why it's regulated is because you're dealing with people's health. The health of your employees, the health of your clients. That's what you're dealing with. And rather than thinking about just being a mold assessor or just being a mold remediator, as Mo's probably told you, we want you to think in terms of being an indoor air quality professional, because that's really what you're doing. I'm sure Mo told you already that when you start cleaning up mold problems in an environment, it's almost like a surrogate of other things that are going on in the environment. If you're reducing the mold, you're also reducing some of the other contaminants, the bacteria, the viruses, the particulates, some of the other stuff that's going on in the environment. So you can make a gigantic change to the environment. So our goal is for you to really think in terms of becoming an indoor air quality professional. And this is really the first step. If you haven't thought about that before, this is really the first step in that direction. And I'll tell you the other thing it'll do for you. I've been in business a very long time. I used to tell people I was self-unemployed in the construction industry. Been in business a really long time. And what you want is you want to edge in the market that makes you different from everybody else. And it's not about price, let me tell you.
So I'm going to start tonight with my good friend and colleague, Larry Cooper. It's been a long time since we've had him in the room, but we have him in the room tonight, not because of the experience, obviously, but we have him in the room tonight because we have a big announcement we want to make. I actually shared this with a couple of people, so it's not new for everybody, but this is a big deal. And I'm really excited that you're here so we can talk about something fun that we're going to be able to do together. And so I'm going to let you just talk about it.
You know, I get to have a lot of fun in this, whatever this retirement is, that's not really retirement. We're putting on a lot of other events in different industries, but working with Normie is always one of our favorite things that we get to do over the years, and working with Doug and Lance and the whole team, and it's just wonderful. We have been producing events all over the world through Restoration Journeys and with Normie. And Normie hosted our last event in Puerto Vallarta, which was amazing. And then we also did a river cruise that was really amazing down the Danube River. And I wanted to talk tonight. Doug and I have been collaborating and coming up with ways that we could go have fun and actually do education at the same time. And we came up with a cruise that I don't know how you could not say yes to. So let me tell you some of the details. It's an 8-day Southern Caribbean cruise, and it's going to the 3 islands that I always wanted to go to: Aruba, Bonaire, which is amazing, and then Curacao. And it's the ABC Islands. And those 3 islands will be fabulous. And our dates are February 28th through March 8th, 2026. So you can join Normie and a whole group of friends as we get together. We're going to have 7 nights, 8 days on the Carnival Horizon Cruise, again, to those ABC Islands. You can relax and enjoy exciting days at sea and 3 amazing tropical island destinations. Of course, you'll be pampered by the pool, entertained with many theaters and outdoor games, eating so that we all gain weight. And there's lots of entertainment and fun stuff. The best part, though, is we're planning on having somewhere between 100 and 150 people in our group, which is amazing. And you'll get to network with those people, become new friends or old friends, getting together again, and just having a fabulous time. Each one of these events just always seems to grow and get better each time. Yeah. Well, during that time also, we scheduled some half-day classes in a classroom on the ship, doing the Normie Certified Microbial Inspector training course. And that'll be held 4 mornings during the cruise, so you can enjoy the rest of the day with your wife, family, friends, whoever it is that you're traveling with. So there's no better way to enjoy training, enjoying time in paradise, and just really having a time of your life. So what's included in this is you'll fly into Miami, and we will board the ship the next day, and we will be at sea for a couple of days. We'll then go to the ABC Islands. That's 3 days in a row out in incredible locations, and then 2 days returning. So lots of time just to relax and enjoy yourself. You know what? One thing I realized, and I'll shut up and let you talk then, is that we work our butts off. This industry is intense, and we're out there on the line all the time. You got to take the time, smell the roses, and enjoy yourself. This is a wonderful opportunity, and getting to spend time with that guy is always fun anyway. So I'm going to shut up and let you talk.
Well, I was just thinking as you were talking, some of the benefits that we're going to get from this, besides being able to spend a bunch of people with really good time with a bunch of really good people, we've opened this up. So you've got contacts all over the world, people that you've talked to for years. I think you said we've got maybe a couple of dozen people already wanting to sign up for this that are just basically industry leaders. So this is not
Right.
just about Normie. We're also opening the door for our relationship with ISSA, a strategic alliance we have there. And so I have a feeling that it's going to fill up pretty quickly. I think we could probably do over 200 when it's all said and done. And that's just going to be a great, great opportunity for us to network with industry leaders, learn a lot about what's going on in the industry, get some training, some special training for your continuing education training. And that training also will qualify for Florida's continuing education licensing requirement. So there's just a great opportunity, I think, to spend some great time with some fun folks. We had a great time in Puerto Vallarta. It was just really, really cool, and I'm looking forward to this. I mean, who doesn't want to be at in the Caribbean the first week in March? Hello.
You know, I had a great time with all the Normie folks that came. They were really great people. Well, what happened over the last week was kind of crazy because my daughters, especially Jillian, who organizes all of this, and Jennifer started just calling all the friends in the industry, and everybody said yes. So these are all industry leaders across the board that you'll get to network with. But we're going to party and have a great time. So you got to get ready for that. Here's something else that's really amazing. Do you remember the river cruise we did?
Mm-hmm.
It was $12,000 for a couple. $12,000. And we filled it, of course.
Yeah.
But this one is a little better price than that. So
I'll say.
the base cabin goes for $1,372 per person. And that includes the training.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So
Yeah.
you can upgrade your cabins. I'm really spoiled, man. I like balconies. So I can go out and sit on the balcony and have coffee and just forget the world. Well, those cabins are only $1,862 per person.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this is a great opportunity. Now, also, if you were to come and bring your wife and she's not attending the class, there's a discounted rate for her also. So
Right.
you can go to our website, see the prices. You can call us. We'll work with you to get everything booked up. You just need to make sure you have a passport and be ready to have a great time. Bring a lot of shorts and swimsuits because that's the attire for the day, man.
You know what we also didn't mention was if you're a business owner and because you're taking classes, I would say that this could be written off.
Absolutely. So that's exactly why we're doing the 4 days, the mornings. We need to do 12 to 14 hours of education, and this becomes a tax deductible credit for you on your business. And we've been doing this for 14 years. So we know that that works pretty well.
Yeah, we're going to corral some people in. We haven't done finalized the plan yet for the training. You mentioned the certified microbial inspector course. Of course, that's going to be offered, but I think I heard today that there's another room that we could use if we wanted to do more training.
Yes.
And we're looking at other people that are in the industry that could offer some training. We'll be getting that kind of formalized here in the next week or so. But it's going to be an opportunity for not just a training, but maybe multiple different types of training, which is kind of exciting as well. So it's going to be a super time that we're going to be able to spend together. We got it up on our website. Let me just show you where this is, Larry, so you know and all of the members know. But if you want to log in to Normie I'm sorry, you don't have to log into Normie. You can go directly. This is not protected, password protected, because we want anybody to come. We may have some of our friends that'll come to this, right, and they're not a part of Normie. But this is at events.normie.org, events.normie.org. And you can see that, I assume. The nice thing about this is if you click on this, it's going to take you to another page that shows you a little more information with the dates. And then when you click on this, it goes directly to Larry's website so that you can get the information you need. He's handling all of this for us. And there's all kinds of options. You mentioned several things about different size of rooms, and I know there's some suites available and a lot of other things. But one of the things we didn't talk a lot about is there's some special pricing for children, special pricing for families. There are some suites available. There's a rate for individuals who want to go solo. So there's a lot of options. And I think, if I remember correctly, we even talked about being able to make some payments on this, didn't we?
Yeah, we absolutely did. We're asking for a $500 deposit so that we can reserve the room, get all of the details done, and then you can make payments or make full payments. We'll arrange that with you. We do have a couple of family suites reserved. And so that room is big enough for mom and dad and a couple of kids all in one room. And the kids' price is really, really inexpensive. And I should know that off the top of my head. It's like about $200 or something like that per kid, which is absolutely amazing. And of course, on these ships, they have all the kids' clubs, but better than that, they have the nightclubs and all the theaters and entertainment, and dozens of bars and all those kind of things. And, you know, if you just want to go and relax and sit in the sun, I mean, what a great way to enjoy some time out in the beautiful Caribbean sunshine.
And when is if I remember correctly, the deadline is what, 6 months out, end of October, maybe 1st of November, that they can start. I mean, they can start making payments now, but I think that was the plan, wasn't it? That end of October, 1st of November, something like that.
Yeah, I believe it's in October. We'll get that. All payments are due by November 15th.
There you go. So you got 6.5 months to pay for this thing, which is pretty cool. I have a feeling that
was that $100 a month?
Yeah, you'll be happy to take it any way we can send it. But this is really a fantastic opportunity. And I'll just tell you, I'm not just blowing smoke. This is absolutely true. I've been on several of these kinds of events, and Larry and his team absolutely take care of you like you're royalty. I mean, it's not just when you're on the ship. I think we may even talk about doing something the night before. If we get in Miami early, maybe we can have dinner together and do some.
Well, we're going to have a hotel base for everybody to come to. We'll get special rates there, and then we'll do a cocktail reception so everybody can register and meet each other and just start having a good time right then.
Fantastic. Well, I think I told you I'm threatening to bring Mardi Gras beads for everyone. So.
I hope you do.
So we have a party atmosphere, but we are definitely looking forward to it. And I want to thank you for taking the time to be here tonight. I know it was kind of last minute when I contacted you today, but thank you for being here. We're going to run this through our Normie TV and our radio and let people know about it, get the word out, because anybody can come. If you've got family, you want to come for the training, but you've got family that are not interested in the training, like maybe your wife, that's okay. Come on. You got a brother, brother-in-law, sister, sister-in-law, family that want to just be there and have fun. This is going to be a great opportunity. And so we're looking forward to it.
One more point I'll just throw out is the earlier the book, the better rooms we can get you. And you could be next to each other or near each other, so the group's together. Each level on the cruise boat, obviously, is for what you select. So the higher up you are, it's usually the suites and or just the balcony type of rooms.
And I think this is
interior, I've done exterior, I've done suites, and I have fun in all of them.
And I think the Horizon is, I thought I saw where it's like 3,200 maybe rooms. It's a big boat.
It's a big old boat. I don't know if you can see that. There it is, man. It's a big Hummer. So it'll be plenty of fun. There'll be plenty of things to do and activities, and we just are really looking forward to it. On board also, we'll have some cocktail receptions. We'll have a dinner for the whole group, so everybody can really network and get to know each other a lot better.
Yeah, you know, when you and Jill started looking for these different cruises, and you came back with this one, all I could think was Aruba, Jamaica. Ooh, I want to take you.
I think that could be our theme song. We'd be okay.
It's going to be a great time. Thank you so much for being here, Larry. I really appreciate it. Tell Jill I said hi, and we'll get on this right away, start promoting it. Thanks for getting that website done.
Absolutely. You guys take care. It's great to be with all of you, and I'm really looking forward to seeing you on board.
All right, man.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Have a good week.
want to welcome today's guest, Dan Reese, who is and I'll use the terminology that he prefers, a wildfire strategist and aviation advisor. So I'm going to say, Dan, say hello to everybody, and I'm going to follow it up with, could you explain what that is? Because it's a big set of terms, and I really want to understand it.
Sure, got it. Well, thank you for having me here today, Lance. So in my career, I finished out mostly in tactical air operations for wildfire events. And after I left, I started a consulting firm, International Wildfire Consulting Group. And that was shortly after I finished running Global Supertanker Services, which ran the 747 Global Supertanker, which was an air tanker aerial firefighter with a 747. So I help people who call me engage with questions regarding wildfire. Oftentimes it's technology, or it's chemicals, or it's process. It might be, something along the lines of NASA presentations for people who want to engage with NASA, or new equipment like say a fire nozzle. People who want to understand what it takes to engage in the wildfire community is pretty much what I do.
Well, it's interesting. I actually, before we went live here, did a quick research on you with LinkedIn and a few other sources. And just what you're mentioning, it's kind of interesting, where I saw an article that you were involved with for water conservation and firefighting, just by changing the shape of the nozzle and the stream of the water flow. It cuts it like in a third. So,
Correct.
I mean, that's kind of interesting stuff. I'll tell you what, though, some really sharp images and photos of those big planes dropping the fire retardant, on the site. So it's pretty impressive. Anybody watching this, you may want to take a look and find him on LinkedIn. Pretty interesting stuff out there. But before we started today, we were talking a little bit about the difference between the central part of the U.S. and the East Coast and California, which is where you're from. Now, California's been dealing with wildfires forever.
Correct.
The new phenomenon that's affected us on the East Coast, and I'm in New Jersey, is smoke from Canada, hundreds and hundreds of miles away, causing this choking of the air quality, not just outside, but inside of our homes. So what do you see, what we're facing now compared to what you normally deal with in California?
Well, it's clear and beautiful, and a really moderate temperature here, this summer with the weather patterns, which is really nice. I think that El Nino probably has something to do with that. As I watch the news sources and the science research with the polar vortex, collapsing somewhat and changing the airflow and the cooler weather, it's really nice here in California. And we've not had the fires, this year that we've had in the last several years, and the air's been clear. So it's been really nice. A little agonizing to see what's happening on the East Coast and the Eastern Seaboard and in Canada, where we don't typically see that. And ironically, we see a lot of fire on the West Coast, and it's highly publicized, but in the southeast of the United States, there's a huge number of fires there that occur typically annually. Although I don't think in scope and size of what we see here with the integration of the population in what we call the wildland urban interface. But the smoke conditions definitely will get people's attention. And when we start seeing entire towns, being razed, like Paradise and Greenville and the towns up in Oregon and now Canada, it definitely starts to get people's attention.
Well, I've seen a big change in, I don't want to say weather patterns, but just because of the way we've been for the last, I'd say 3-4 weeks here in the Northeast, we haven't had rain. I mean, everything's extremely dry. Now, normally for us, June, we usually run that week or 2 or 3 of, we'll run those 85, 90 plus degree temperatures, and they start calling it the heat wave and everything else. We haven't had that, which I'm not complaining about. But the point I'm trying to get to is, when these fires produced this smoke that came down on the New York, New Jersey area, we actually got a glimpse of almost the start of what a nuclear winter would look like. And yes, it sounds very dramatic to say that, but we were barely getting to 70 degrees when the normal temperatures are 80, 85 for us here in New Jersey this time of the year. And we were told by the Weather Channel and all the other officials that are talking about it, that there is so much smoke in the air, it's blocking the sun from its normal thermal heating during the day. I mean, I have solar panels on my house, and I see my production was down, at ground level. It was horrible. So this is what you deal with out in California. We're only getting a glimpse of it now. And truthfully, we've been spoiled, out of sight, out of mind. We hear about the fires in California and okay, on with our business. I mean, this brings it home to us. And I think it's an opportunity for you to explain to us what we should be expecting and, what happens, because this may not be just a short-term thing. It may continue.
No, unfortunately, I would say that for the people on the East Coast, you're in it for the long haul until such time that the weather patterns change and these fires are naturally mitigated. We can make a difference. When I say we, and the fire service can make a difference when these fires are smaller, when they are in their incipient stages, when we get on and we can handle aggressive initial attack, and we've got the weather, in our favor to be able to make that attack successful. Unfortunately, what most people don't realize is once these fires become of that magnitude and size to where they're calling them mega fires, we can black the sky out with aluminum, meaning air tankers and aircraft, and that's all limited. And the bigger they get in scope, the more resources they demand. And we have a finite number of resources internationally and nationally, whether it's in Canada or the United States. No one agency can be fully prepared for this type of event, right? We have agreements that are between local agencies. We have state agreements. We have federal agreements. We have international agreements where we have standardization that takes place for everybody to engage. But, when we lack the capacity to adequately attack these fires when we can, that will cost us, and trying to build capacity during the event is just impossible. And once these events get up and running, they become very, very expensive. So the catch really when they get this big is that we need the capacity to keep fires small when they first start. And when they get this big and they draw this many resources, we have in the fire service what we call drawdown, meaning we've drawn the resources so thin that now our ability to rapidly and successfully initial attack fires becomes compromised because we just don't have the resources there to do it. So for, my small part of life here on Earth and the fires that I've, had to deal with in these quote nuclear winters, and my first experience with that really was in 1987. And the scientists actually came out in the Happy Camp in the Klamath area of Northern California to study what a nuclear winter would be like, where we had these major fires going in August, and we have what are called inversions. So anybody that's been camping and seen a campfire burn, the smoke will rise and then it'll kind of flatten out and form a haze. And that's what you're seeing here, only on a massive scale. And it does get cold. Unfortunately, those fires burn, they continue to burn under those inversions. And then when the inversion gets hot enough, we have what we call an inversion break, where all of a sudden the air will escape up through the inversion and the fire takes off madly for several hours under the inversion. But once they get to that point, it makes it very difficult for aviation resources to be successful to even get in to help the people on the ground, because it's just so smoky. We can't safely operate those aircraft in those spaces. So unfortunately, I think right now it's going to be enduring, right? The population that's being impacted there on the East Coast and the central United States and Canada are at a point, unfortunately, where they're going to have to endure until Mother Nature changes her mind.
what you're talking about resource wise, is this what's caused some of the problems in Canada not being able to get a handle on these fires?
Well, I think it's important to put a couple of things in perspective. Fires traditionally need to burn. I mean, that's one way that Mother Nature, takes care of dead and dying material, beetle kill. There's a lot of reasons for fire to burn that's good. Managing fire during peak burning conditions is almost virtually impossible. It only takes a few degrees of relative humidity, meaning the moisture in the air, or a change in wind to really affect what a fire does. So when we talk about resources and capacity, it becomes part of a matter of perspective. It's kind of like insurance, right? Do we want to spend money to build capacity so that when these events happen, we can really go after them? Or do we bet on the come that it's not going to happen? And unfortunately, when we listen to climatologists and scientists around the world and we experience what we're experiencing, where we see years and years and years of dry weather, where we see reservoirs drying up, where we see millions of trees dying, that just all adds to the fuel, no pun intended, for these fires to really take hold and go. And there's two ways fires are put out. A, Mother Nature lets them die out naturally, or B, there are firefighters on the ground that actually go dig those fires out and around to make them go away. So capacity, I think in Canada right now, you're seeing probably firefighters from around the world responding. I know that aviation resources and hundreds of firefighters from the United States are battling those blazes. And I'm sure that there are people from Australia and probably many other countries engaging to help, Canada. And it's not just a regional North American problem right now. We're having this problem. We don't see it, in Siberia, in Asia, in Europe, where you see fires, burning in Germany, where they don't typically burn. And when that doesn't happen, people don't think that they need to get prepared because they don't think it's going to impact them. And unfortunately, for those on the eastern seaboard here in the United States, that they don't really realize the impact that they are contributing to, say, tax-wise, right? We have realized and unrealized costs of fire suppression in this country in the tune of tens of billions of dollars a year, which really affects the GDP of the United States. So wildfire is a big problem, whether you're experiencing that smoke or not. We're all going to pay for it.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And to bring it down to a level where people watching this will have something in common with, recently we had the heavy smoke conditions. And that's what I'm going to call the smoke conditions. And they were telling people, stay inside, avoid going outside. Now, we know from the indoor air quality side of our industry that the inside air is normally up to 10 times more polluted than the outside air. So we're already now telling people to stay in an environment that we know is more polluted than the normal outside air for them breathing. We have sensitized individuals. There's a whole class of people that suffer because of that. But also because of the building codes, commercial buildings, public apartment complexes need to bring in fresh air on their heating and air conditioning. So now the systems that are ventilating the inside of their buildings are bringing in this air from outside, which is all smoke, VOC laden with chemistries. And that's a whole nother side that nobody's prepared for, because you still have to breathe. You can't hold your breath for 5-6 days. That doesn't happen. And we use an example in some of our teachings about the importance of breathing. And we say some people are able to go 20, 30, 40 days without eating, 3, 5, 7 days without water, 4 to 6 minutes without air.
Correct.
So it's not like you can avoid breathing. So you have to do things that are going to help. And that comes back to your point before about preparing ahead of time. We don't spend the money on the resources. I've been involved with the government world for many, many years from my background, and money was not usually spent on preparedness. it was always throw money at it when there was a problem. And to your point, if you don't stop these things when they're very small, they become unmanageable.
Correct. Capacity is it's a big deal, right? Being prepared both nationally and internationally is extremely important. You know, my background really, I put myself through school fighting fire, and putting myself through school, I became a critical care nurse. And so I worked as a critical care nurse for several years prior to me becoming a firefighter. So it's concerning to me. I have two children, one 16 and one 19. And we were impacted, for instance, by the Camp Fire, which burned the town of Paradise down. And in that fire, I think there were upwards of 20,000 structures that were burned to the ground and 80 some odd lives lost. And that fire burned into my town. That's where it stopped. But my children were exposed to something that I chose to expose myself to as a professional firefighter. And that's unnerving, because it's not just the smoke that you burn, that one breathes in the minute. It's the side effects many years down the road that impact, you know, firefighters. And firefighters are notoriously prone to all different kinds of cancers, and they're called assumptive conditions that, you know, the government pays for when we get it. And oftentimes our lives are cut short. So that's what goes through my mind. And personally, you know, when we were inundated with that kind of smoke, I did limit my children going out, because the air, like it or not, was worse outside. I did ensure that they were wearing N95 masks, similar to what, you know, people did, and I'm sure have in their possession as a result of COVID. Anything to be able to catch that particulate, changing out the filters, you know, regularly in my home. Those were all things that were, you know, top on my mind, just from my medical background and being conscientious of my firefighters when I was in the station, as it related to, you know, diesel exhaust fumes in the bays when we were pulling engines out or pulling engines in, right? That wasn't a place to idle, because we just didn't want to be breathing that. Same for the public.
You know, there's an educational component that is missing in many industries. And in our industry, again, out of sight, out of mind, because you don't see the microscopic particulate and organisms and everything else that you inhale, people don't think about it. But when you're dealing with the fires, again, when it's in California, here on the East Coast, we don't think about it. We don't see it. It's not affecting us on a daily basis. But the submicron particles that are in these smoke plumes that are going out, they go straight into your lungs, and they pass right into your blood system and all the chemistries that are associated with them.
And there's
that's
thousands.
What's that?
There's thousands of these, even just from a burning pine tree.
Well, and I've heard people even talk about, well, it's a campfire or it's a fire pit. We do this all the time. Well, that's true. But the factory up the street that burned with ethyl methyl nasty stuff in it, that's now aerosolized in the flames, that's the stuff that's involved in what you're breathing, because of the homes that burn, the factories that burn, and all the things that are inside of it. Just the glues that are in the furniture, you know, that you're sitting on, is all poisonous to inhale. And again, to me, it's an educational piece that people don't understand about emergency medical services, about law enforcement, about firefighting, that I look at this as an opportunity to provide awareness. Something as simple as a firefighter coming out of a burning building, the last thing you would want to do is cool him down by hosing off his turnout gear while he's wearing it.
Or give him a hug.
Or give him a hug. That
Right,
jacket
yeah.
could be 300, 400, 500 degrees. As soon as you hose it down with water, you've created instant steam and you've scalded that individual.
Well, the technology has changed drastically, you know, from the time when I was a young firefighter. Nomex was just coming out, and that's the protective clothing that wildland firefighters wear. And my first several years of fighting fire, I did not wear Nomex. And then when I was in the structure world, in the municipal world, I had one set of turnouts, and those turnouts were by my bed, by my bunk. You know, when the bell rang, I would jump into them and go to a call and come back and peel them down, put them right next to my bunk, and go to bed. That's just not the case anymore with what science has shown us and the medical world. Now, firefighters typically have 2 sets of turnouts, and they rotate them through structure fires, and they go right to the extraction machine, and they have to go out and be professionally extracted if you're following an FPA every now and then. I used to go do school programs with the kids, and I'd have my turnouts and let them get in it. Turnouts are the gear, that we wear, and let them touch and feel and see. And now that's even been outlawed, where, nothing that's been in a fire like that can go into a school. It's new turnouts that have never been exposed to smoke. A lot of changes environmentally in our profession, which, I think it's important for the public to understand the reasons for that. And it's important for the public to protect themselves as well, such as the things we just talked about: changing filters, not going outside, having your kids wear a mask. I mean, if I have 2 masks and I'm going out with 2 kids, well, the kids are going to wear the mask, not me. I'm going to endure that change. But it's a matter of perspective and doing what you can to research on your own. Read about the effects of smoke and what science is showing. Read about the cost of fires and what's causing it. And it's a very complex wildfire is very complex, simply because there are those fires that need to burn, and there are those fires that probably should be put out.
From your experience in California, your years firefighting, and from dealing with the smoke out in the California area, what would you say to the people in the middle part of the country and the East Coast that have experienced this? And the wind could shift tomorrow, and the fires that are still burning could cause this to come down on us again. What would you recommend them doing as far as indoor and outdoor air quality, and what things to be aware of odor-wise and things like that?
Well, wildfire smoke has, in my experience, 2 different kind of smells. There's a smell when a fire is going through a residential community, for instance, when we have many homes burning and it smells like a structure fire, or if anyone's thrown, plastic garbage and things into a campfire, you kind of have that acrid smell. And that's the nasty stuff that you don't want to see burning, and you definitely don't want your children burning. As firefighters, sometimes we can't get out of those situations where my firefighters could put on a self-contained breathing apparatus. We call them SCBAs. Until that smoke was clear, that's what they did, and their turnouts were washed. So for those in the public, it really is limiting your exposure outside when you're listening to the environmental air pollution control advisories. Those people that are susceptible to lung issues and problems, I would speak to your doctor. I would see what kind of HEPA filtration systems that could be put into your homes, to help filter that smoke in your homes. And once again, my children, I put them into masks, no different than when they were in COVID, when they were walking around out there, when they had to be out. Otherwise, I kept them indoors.
Yeah, just to a point that you just made about wearing masks, the N95 masks, N100 masks, whatever you're able to get, they work great for particulates, but they don't do anything for the VOCs, the volatile organic compounds, which is the gases and the chemistry in the air. Right. That you need scuba gear, like you're talking about, self-contained breathing apparatus. Mm-hmm. And the public isn't going to wear that.
No.
So staying inside, it's really your best bet, at this point, and try to avoid these situations if possible.
Agreed.
All right. Well, I really appreciate your time. This is all about a public education and awareness that we're trying to push out there. There's many other segments that we will be playing following this. And I really wanted to set the stage, which is, I feel we've done that, as to the problem that's out there. It's not going away. It wasn't the 3 or 4 days that we had here, and the problem's never going to come back. It's things that we need to be aware of.
Correct.
And I really appreciate your time and help with that.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me today, Lance. Appreciate it.
Be safe, and good luck with your new adventures out there. And I look forward to seeing some more of those interesting images and videos of all these firefighting planes and stuff you got out there on your site.
Yeah, there's some
Thank you very
amazing
much.
pilots and people. Yep. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Here at the experience, and we're talking with Vlad, and I'm going to let him describe what he does and then tell you a little bit more about him. And I'm not going to try to pronounce your last name.
Smart
I
man.
don't want to destroy it.
Very smart.
Vlad, so who you are, you can say your last name.
Yeah, Vlad Makratumian. I'm
There
the
you go.
co-founder and CEO of Restoration Inbound.
And what is that?
So Restoration Inbound is a full service digital marketing agency. I just spoke yesterday at the Experience Conference, and the thing that makes us unique is we also build our own AI marketing software on the back end. Yeah.
So you say you build your own, you have your own
Mhm.
developers.
My cousin, yeah, he does all the heavy work. I force him to. So
Okay.
yeah. Yeah.
So he's writing this as a proprietary operation.
Yeah, it's proprietary because we're not licensing it. We might in the future, but really what we noticed is there's really no one out there, very few people that actually build AI marketing for restoration owners, right? I don't know anybody else really. So we started just building a suite of tools. He likes to do that. And it's given us a pretty good advantage, I would say, in the industry and really cool insights because we take keywords from Google Ads that we know work, and then we pair it with ChatGPT. And then before we start a campaign, we can forecast and, a bunch of other nerdy stuff that we think is cool.
Okay, does any of this work on the administrative side for the businesses?
Like, you mean like in reporting
Well,
or,
the
yeah.
reporting, seeing how they should be changing their marketing plans?
Yes,
Or is that
yes.
something that you directly deal
Yeah, we like the hardest part for us actually is making sure that our restorers meet with us once a week, because then we can do all the reporting, all the pivoting, any edits, anything they need. So yeah, we have software integrations that we can use for people that will auto text, auto email clients, remind you for things. Yeah, we've done stuff like that
with?
as well. for reporting.
Autoresponder concept. I guess.
Yeah, I mean, you tell me, Lance, if you want to build, I'll get it done for you. Yeah.
All right then.
Yeah.
Something that'll feed my dog at a certain time. of
Yeah,
day,
yeah.
Just so I can,
As long as it's a restoration dog,
restoration
we
dog.
will take care of it. Yeah.
So I saw that you were talking with Michael Pinto a lot.
Yes, sir.
Have you been working with him or doing some stuff with him?
Yeah, Michael's he's a mentor in the industry. I actually typed in during my presentation, I actually talked about this. So you can see who's who. So you can use ChatGPT to determine leaders in different industries, right? It's got the world's knowledge on there. So it will basically go ahead and it will spit out those results. So if you type in, world's leaders in mold remediation, two of the Normie members off the top of my head pop up. Number one, actually, ChatGPT says Michael Pinto, which is how I connected with him, and he started mentoring me. And then Doug Hoffman, I think, is actually number three.
Don't tell him that.
Yeah.
Don't let Doug know Michael
Yeah.
above him. That's all. So,
Yeah.
That's interesting
Yeah.
that it comes up that way.
Yeah. And so so the cool part is though, right, for anyone watching out there that is in remediation or inspections, you can type in, well, who are the top real estate agents in whatever, New Jersey, New York, and you can find the top realtors, other referral partners to reach out to. So that way, when you're trying to build relationships with people that you want to be highly valuable, it'll do the research for you, right? So that's one way to use AI in marketing for research purposes, and then you can reach out to them after.
So if I was to ask you in a non-technical way to describe to the public what you do for most people to understand,
Oh, okay.
what would you do?
I help you get more jobs. I help restoration companies get more jobs. Because they get more jobs, they can increase their prices. So then they become more profitable, right? And then the last thing I do is I take work off of their plate because they're constantly overwhelmed as business owners. And so we build software and technology to, make life easier for them. Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That should be on our brochure.
Maybe that'll be next year at the Experience Conference. I'll have a brochure for that.
There
Yeah.
you go. All right.
So, yeah.
So is there anything else you want to tell us about your company or what you've been doing?
Yeah, I mean, I think the one thing we spoke about yesterday, I can get into that, which is social media and how a lot of these restoration owners, they're not on social media because they think, oh, well, my clients aren't on Facebook when they get water damage job, which is very true because obviously Google is king. You want to be on Google first. However, they don't think about that all these other realtors and other business partners are on social media that you
Right.
can talk to them. So that is the reason why you should be on there, not for your clients per se directly, but for the referral partners. And that's where social media, I think, can really shine. One of the people in the talk that I held, I'm sure Lance was taking furious notes there. Basically, he actually stated how he wrote LinkedIn articles, right? Now, did that get them a remediation job from the article? No, it actually got them a referral partner who read the article, right? So today you can use AI to write all sorts of different articles for you. However, they're probably going to be lower quality still. But what you can do is you can use it as like a brainstorming partner for you. And then after you brainstorm topics, you can even do it for a little bit of research. You can add your own unique spin to make it really engaging, interesting, funny, right? You want it to be awesome content. And then you post it to social media. People will read that about you. They'll read, oh, wow, look, Michael Pinto has all this content, et cetera. And then they'll reach out to you. And now you're getting more business, right? Because Michael actually ranked #1 on ChatGPT. I met him about 2.5, 3 years ago. I actually ended up referring him connections, right? A year later. So a lot of times everybody, it's a classical, everybody wants a light switch, right? Everybody wants 6-minute abs. But with things like social media and really the high leverage marketing, it takes time. Now I'm going to take a breath and let you catch up here. Yeah. There's lots to talk.
Oh, you're talking to me? No,
Yeah. No,
No,
I'll talk
you know
myself.
what? There's a lot of information,
yeah.
that you're talking about, and the viewers, they understand,
Yeah.
and especially when you broke it down there a few minutes ago as to the service you provide for the everyday person.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really what they're looking for, to understand that we don't have a lot of people that are going to go out and dive into the AI side,
Yep.
but they're going to go to companies like yours for the AI assistance. So that's the power of what you're doing.
Yeah, 100%, right? As it gets more competitive and more complicated with AI, right? We can help demystify and simplify things, right? The last thing I'll say, because I can't speak here for an hour, but I know it's not my show. Lance will tell you, I'll take it over.
Well, I'll be back. You can
Yeah.
talk.
Okay, sounds good. That sounds like a plan to me. But the other, we'll do a Vlad takeover session. Yeah. But the other thing people want is they want to pay very little for jobs, right? They're like, these advertising prices are crazy. It's too expensive. Why? The reason they're so expensive is because you're paying to get the job today, right? You're getting the job today, so you're paying the most for a specific referral. You're going on Angie's, Thumbtack, CraftJack, Service Direct, right? Those are going to be the most expensive, 300, 600, et cetera, right? For prices. However, if you do something like Michael Pinto did and you build a brand, right? Then you're going to spend very little because people know of you. Your reputation will grow. And then that's where you can make a lot of money for spending a little bit. And I always like to tell people, right? What do you think of in terms of price range when you think of Walmart versus Lamborghini, right? The branding does make a difference. It's
Absolutely.
long-term though.
Well, Vlad, I appreciate it.
Always a pleasure.
Didn't want you to take over the hour show.
Yeah, I was going to.
Yeah, I know. But there's still a lot of people here. And you know what? This is day 3. The show ends in, I don't know, an hour or so. And it's still crowded.
Yeah, it is actually a packed show today, which is awesome. I actually will have to say I've been to other conferences. The Experience Conference is a wonderful one. And people are really engaging. They're friendly. And if people haven't attended, I highly recommend you guys check out the scene and come say hello to me if you do.
All righty. Thank you. And we'll chat again, I'm sure.
Thank you so much. Cheers.
Okay, everybody, one more time before the end of the day, and then we have all day tomorrow to do some more interviews. But for now, I want to end the day talking to, and I'm just going to say, Becky, I mean, we've done trainings together. We've done other shows like this. You are the person that does the photography, the marketing, the editing, the production of promoting all of these contractors that are here. So tell us a little bit about you and what you really do, not what I just tried to explain.
Oh, I like it. You kind of made me sound fancy.
Absolutely.
it.
Absolutely.
take it. I mean, the title I say is photographer, videographer, and digital media manager. But yeah,
It doesn't fit on the card, does it?
no, it kind of doesn't. I think it's the max on LinkedIn on my little bio there at the top where
Okay.
it says, what's your job title? It fits. I just had to use a slash instead of spaces. But yeah, I mean, I have been very fortunate to get to teach a workshop with you over this topic. We're kind of intertwined in that way.
That was
which
in
is great.
Mexico.
It was Puerto Vallarta.
It was a nice place to go.
I'll do that again. Anyone want to sign up for that?
Yeah, really. So how does what you do help all the contractors and people that are here in this industry?
So it's in all different ways because, you know, photography and videography, that's a great marketing tool as well as just documentation. And then when it comes to digital media management, that's your social media. That's your, are you telling me to hold it up closer?
Yeah, a
Okay,
little
I
closer.
saw it. I saw it. Was that a little better, you
Just a
think?
little.
Okay, and then digital media marketing is, you know, getting yourself in front of the right people, right? With marketing, you talk about marketing as well. But what I focus on is organic reach. So yes, I do ads as well, but I focus on what's going to be free for you. How are you going to get stuff out for free without having
The organic stuff.
yeah,
just
organic
basically-
reach. Exactly.
You know, and there's people here in all different verticals from carpet manufacturers and cleaners, plumbers, electricians. I mean, everybody is here with all kinds of technical tools and things that they do, but they all need to market,
Oh, yes.
you know, and I think the way that you approach the industry and being able to help them is a little unique.
Oh, thank you.
It just is, you know, and I've seen you do the training and the uniqueness is one that you care and you take each company on as an individual, not just, all right, here's the routine. This is what
Oh,
you do.
I'm glad you see that because yeah, that's the biggest goal is getting to help the company and getting to see the company evolve. That's the most rewarding thing for me is just getting to see, hey, we started from here, we started from the ground, or maybe we started from high up, but how can I take you to that next level? So
Any special tricks or things that are favorite of yours in that area?
well, it depends on because like you said, there's all different types of companies in this industry across the board. So it does depend on kind of where you're at, but I recommend engaging with your audience in any way that you can, whether it be posting a live video very